Hello everybody and welcome to TGP2. We are going to be racing around Bahrain and Spa. Um, so I apologise, last week I wasn't here, so we had Jack doing his POV, but we are back and ready to rumble. So let's go through the championship order, shall we? So Dan Morris leads us by 30 points to Jess. Deck in third place, only 11 points behind Jess. So at the moment, Dan Morris looking very comfortable. Lewis, he raced last week. He did a pretty decent job considering that he's still got a broken thumb. I don't think it's fully recovered yet. So good job by him. CJ in fifth. I believe he didn't race last week. So I know he did, didn't he? He crashed in Italy, which is quite unfortunate for him. But I'm sure he still has a chance of winning the title. So don't take him out of contention. Meanwhile, let's go to the constructors, where Red Bull are leading Alpine by approximately 20 points. And then there's quite a close gap between Alpine, Haas and Aston Martin. Only 30 points separate the three of them. Ferrari in 5th and McLaren 6th, both on the same amount of points. Mercedes 7th, Williams 8th, and RB 9th, with Sauber having not the greatest season they've ever had in 10th place. So here is your calendar. So last week Darky won his first ever race in TGP. Congratulations to him. He did really well in Australia, and I imagine he was very, very happy. Because, well, it's your first win in TGP, and yeah, I imagined he was happy. And in Italy, of course, Dan Morris won. He is looking likely, he's got definitely the best odds to win here this season in TGP2. So, let's see, we're not going yet, we've got 13 drivers in the session. I'm going to very quickly, I've forgotten to get my stream up on my phone so I can see the chat. Pole position favourite is Darky. I'm not surprised in the slightest. He is really good in qualifying. It just becomes a race where he struggles a little bit more than qualifying. So, let's talk through the season so far. At the moment, like I said, looking very promising for Dan Morris. 4 wins so far this season out of the 10 races we've done. Took me a minute there to do the maths. Lewis Craig 2, despite the fact that he missed a week, and I believe he's racing tonight. 2 race wins, decent. Jess with her one in Canada, I believe it was. CJ with his one, what circuit did he win? Monaco, I think it was. Good drive from him then. Luca with 1, and Darky obviously won last week. We are ready to go then for Bahrain. We've been told to ready up, which means hopefully in a minute everyone will ready up and we can get going tonight. I'm just going to unplug my headset. I believe it should be charged enough. We'll find out. And yeah, as we wait for the drivers to ready up. So yeah, wait for everyone to ready up. We've got all the main title competitors. Really struggling to speak today. Dan Morris, Jess, Lewis Craig, CJ Deck, Darky. We've got all the big names racing tonight, so this will be great. Luca as well, forgot to mention him as well. So yeah, we've got all the top 5 in the championship all in the race, which means it should be a good watch. Bahrain, obviously, at least in real life, one of the better races, and then Spa, I reckon it could throw a few curveballs. in the race, which is exciting, and hopefully we will have. I hope we have a good night tonight. I hope we have good racing. Last time I did comms, it was good racing. It has been all season, so hopefully that can continue on for the rest of the season. I guess we will find out. Come say hi in the chat if you are watching. I hope you're all having a great evening. I sure am, as we wait for CJ to select his tyre compounds. Take your time, and hopefully we will be getting going for qualifying any minute now, hopefully. As he is taking forever to decide what tyres he's going to pick. He's really struggling to figure it out, but we're going to get going now. So we have Darky saying hi in the chat. Hello. Daniel says, don't be looking at me, going to be an awful set of races for me. Everyone says that, and then they turn out to have good results. So I like the jinxing. And Jack Ho says, Alpine constructors inbound. It is, where are they again? Let's have a quick look. They're second. Definitely could happen. Dan says, nah, Jack, I'm dreading round here, lol. We will see, though. We've got 17 minutes on the clock. Who will be the first one to come out then? It is looking like... Who is that? The Mercedes. I think that's Luca. It is. What a guess. So, this will be a good evening, I reckon. As the sun is setting. I was going to say out, and then I realised it is out, but then it's also going in, so I guess not. So, yeah, let's talk about Luca's season. He has had a pretty decent season. He had, I think it was Japan, where he could have fought for the win. In fact, no, he won, and then got the penalty. I have a feeling he might have got rid of that penalty. He might have kept the win. Might be mistaken, it was a few weeks ago. But yeah, he's having a solid season so far. Not the best season in his TGP career, but I'm sure he can still fight here in Bahrain. As we watch him go around the circuit. Who else is that behind him? Let's see. Chris Johnson is out. Daniel is out. Peanut. Jake Warrior, Lewis, Craig, and the top 5. So, we'll watch on board with Luca as he goes through turn 12, and we'll do a lap on board with him. And, yeah, we'll see how it goes for the man who lives in Isle of Man, I think. I don't think they've actually got the flag in the game, because he's got the worldwide flag in the game, so that's quite amusing, as he opens the DRS to start us off on his lap. So, you go approximately 200 miles per hour down the straight, and I'm sure it's probably more in these cars as he hits turn 1, clips the apex on the inside before flinging the car on the left into turn 3, and then slight little kink into turn 3, and then you go on to the second straight out of the 4 in around the circuit into turn 4. Somewhat good exit there from Luca as you finish the first sector into turn 5, and then 6, and then 7. I've missed a corner there somehow. Into turn 8, avoid clipping the apex too much or mount it, and yeah, end up running way too wide. And then turn 9 and 10, really difficult corner to nail, but Luca seems to have done that quite well. Onto the third straight, I believe this is the endurance start-finish straight, I believe. Into turn 11 then. Bit wide on the exit there, but all good so far. Into turn 12, before you hit turn 13, fling the car on the right, clip the apex quite nicely. And then the fourth and final straight of the lap. Power, what am I saying? Foot on the power into the final corners turn 14 and then 15 because once again it's those little kinks. And Luca's going to set the benchmark of a 130.9. RB of Daniel Whitby will not. There's a 128.9 better lap there from Daniel. I need to get the map up because I can't see who is where. We've got... Who else we've got coming? Apologies. Jack Craig goes to P2, 28.9. Jess at the moment, 28.6. Good lap from her. Lewis Craig of 28.3. Better lap from him. As Macy goes 7th. Dan Morris, he claims that he's going to be rubbish tonight. Well, he's gone pole position provisionally. What about Jake Warrior? What can he do? It is 7th place at 130.2. We've got Darky then. Mr. Qualifying Man is what I'll call him. Won last week though, and he's going to take pole position at the moment. Solid 4 tenths ahead, 27.9. Watch on board with CJ then, fastest sector 2. He, yeah, he's had a bit of bad luck over the last few races. Obviously, having that crash in Italy probably didn't help his confidence too much, but he goes into second place at 28.2. Can't complain too much about that. Next up is Deck, as he comes through the final 2 corners. Gets on the throttle early. A lot of these guys using some sort of traction control. Which is always amusing to watch. 28.8 puts him into P7. And then we got Alpha Jess, who I believe she is the new driver, I believe, got announced earlier last week. She goes P9, a 29.9. So that is your top 14 so far. I don't think anyone else is on a lap. So these guys do surprise me sometimes. There is a car, which I can't seem to find. Yeah, joke. Yeah, so I just realised that Luca, Jake, and Chris all have done a lap on medium tyres, which I find quite interesting. So I'm intrigued to see what the plan is with that. What they're trying to cook, if they're just using it as a kind of practice lap, a banker lap. I don't know though. I guess we'll see what they do. I don't imagine they're gonna finish quali on those tyres. But yeah, we'll see. Kaya says the game is awful. Is he having issues getting into the session, I wonder? He can't take control. That's not brilliant. Let me really quickly. I don't think there's anyone on laps. Who's Aston Martin? Ryan Berry, is he on that? Might be, but he's got a bit of a slipstream, but it's not going to be anything improvement. Right, let me really quickly invite Kaya. Where is he? Gotta be on there somewhere. Can't find him. Oh, there he is. Dark Shadow. There you go, let's try that. So, Ryan Berry then, he's done 3 laps on his softs. I don't really know what cooking is. Just on a lap? No, run out of fuel. Ryan Berry is invalidated as well. So, Jess Bull, we're going to have to make sure that I separate the two, because otherwise it's going to get very confusing when Jess is somewhere and Jess is the other. So we're going to say Jess Bull and Alpha Jess. Yeah, let's do that. Take me a while to get used to it, but we get there. We'll get there. So let's watch on board with Jess Bull then. Obviously, I'd say biggest improver of the season so far is she goes to the inside wall. I'm intrigued to see what that does. Picking up quite a lot of marbles. She goes into turn 1. pretty decent turn 1 there, into turn 2, and then 3. And the power burns the overtake a little bit. Into turn 4, clip the apex. Pretty nicely done so far by Jess. As Kaya said, we can't connect at all. Faster sector 1 apparently to the game, however, me and Liz found out the other week. It's not the most reliable game as she goes into turn 8, get on the throttle, and then the hard corners, which I don't think anyone particularly likes. 9 and 10. I think if you're on no ABS, if you're on ABS, it's probably a bit nicer, but with no ABS, it is just trauma. As we go into turn 11 and then 12, fling the car to the right. Jess full sets a 1.6.4, not much of an improvement, only 33 milliseconds off her best. Dark Shadow has joined again. Let's hope that maybe he might be able to get into the session. Otherwise, we're going to have to restart the lobby. I guess we'll find out. And as Jess goes... Oh, I thought she was going to go into the pits. 28.7 actually doesn't improve on her lap time. Meanwhile, Luca did improve on his lap time to 28.8. Ryan Berry, across the line again. Can he improve? He does. He moves up to 11th place. You know what? I just have been watching the screen through OBS, like the small screen. I don't know why I've been doing that. Chris Johnson moves himself up to 9th at 28.8. So 3 drivers in the 8s, 28.8s, but only 1 driver, and that's Starkey, in the 27s. So that'll be interesting as CJ starting his lap. We'll keep an eye on him. Let's watch on board. No, let's not watch on board. I'm trying to find people who are finishing their laps. Dan Morris, he's on a lap. He's a 10th up on his personal best. What can he set? He's going in the pits, so he won't be setting anything. So obviously not an improvement for him. Luca not on a lap, obviously. Alpine. Jack Rogue. At the moment, 5th place. Another shop driver, 5 seconds off the pace. Definitely not an improvement. Maybe not. Let's watch on board with CJ, then go on. So, goes down the old start-finish straight. I think it's the old start-finish straight, or they've just got grid boxes there for no reason. I feel like someone mentioned to me that they were going to start the races there, and then it just never happened. I don't know. CJ, though, finishes Sector 2, 1/10 up on his lap time, which won't put him into pole position. It will stay 2nd place, make that 3rd. Lewis has improved at 28.0 as he goes into the final few corners. Used all his deployment. Not the most recommended thing to do. He does improve. Only 82 milliseconds does not move him up the field. So let's watch on board with Deck. 4/10 up on his lap. Ryan Berry, I'm really confused on what he's doing. Dark Shadow has selected the car. Deck goes 5th, 28.2. I'm confused with... Ryan Berry's just done casually 6 laps on his softs. I really don't understand what he's doing there. But I believe Kaya's in the session now, so that is good. I'm gonna hope he is anyway. Despite the fact he's apparently got no tyres on. So yeah, we're now going to the empty phase where no one's really on laps, apart from Ryan Berry, who's just making this into a testing session. Something tells me. But we'll watch on board with him again. At the moment he's a 10th up on his lap, but that won't be enough to move him up as he goes through the final corner. So I wonder if he's just using this as a practice session, see how the setup handles. He does move himself up to 12th, 29.4. But yeah, let's watch on board with these guys are on laps. These guys have been very split, as Kaya has made it onto the circuit. That's brilliant news. It's like a in real life Formula 1 when someone's got an engine issue and they finally get out right in the nick of time. So, Kaya, he's into the session. I'm hoping he's put his setup on. Knowing him, he's gone into the session and gone, yay, I'm in. And then he's just probably forgotten to put the setup on. But either way, he's in the game. That is all we ask for. The game has let him in. Good job. Anyway, let's watch on board with Alpha Jess. She goes into turn 1. So, we haven't actually watched on board with her this season because she is a new driver. She goes into turn 4. Gets on the throttle early. Decently done. She is down on her time at the moment. Oh, and that's a spin. Good save though. Kept her out of the barriers and kept the car going, but that will definitely not be an improvement. Luca, he's on a lap time. Let's watch on board with him then. 35 milliseconds up in the sector 1 split. Goes into turn 7 and then a little hairpin into turn 8. Pretty nicely done from the Mercedes driver. A second up in the first sector, by the way, would put him pole position at the moment as he goes into turn 10. Getting the throttle nicely. Burned the overtake early. That was really nicely done. And then you run wide onto the curb on turn 11. Pretty neatly done so far. Into turn 12 and then 13, it is only 91 milliseconds. I think the game must have been lying to us in the first sector. But he will come to the final corner, and if it stays as it is, he won't move anywhere. But let's see what he does. As he goes for the final corner, he will open his DRS. It will be a 28.7. He moves up to 9. He stays where he was, sorry. Stays in 9th. Let's see what Kaya can do then. He's in the session, I'm sure he's happy to even be participating. As he drives apparently with no tyres according to the game. I don't believe that because I can see red tyres on the car. What can Kaya do on his red tyres? It is a 30.8 at the moment, slowest, but I'm going to give him credit. So everyone is now out on the circuit, beginning to set their laps. And this will be the interesting part of qualifying. These qualifying sessions can make or break your session. Matty C, first car to set a lap. 29.7, stays where he is. 14th place is probably where he is going to start. Daniel is on a lap. Let's see what the RB driver can do. He's had some promising performances this season, some quite messy performances as well. Japan was one of them. But Daniel, he is going across the line. Alpha Jess, she went 11th. I didn't realise she was on a lap. Daniel goes up to 6th for 28.4. Traffic queuing up in the background. All of these guys are wanting to get the biggest slipstream as possible. And well, they all will probably start their laps, but it is getting quite clustered out there. So we've got a Aston Martin who's starting his lap, only just. A Mercedes. It's Luca. Who we can watch on board with? Is it Jack Craig who is behind his teammate? Yep, Dan Morris. Dan Morris then. So, title leader at the moment. What can he set? I'm sure he might say that he's bad round here. He claims he is, but how bad is bad, or how good is he secretly? How much is he sandbagging? It's 2 tenths up for the Alpine driver. Currently would put him into P2, but not pole position. He burns the last bit of his ERS. He's running out of fuel, so that means he is burning every little bit of it. Comes through the final 2 corners. At turn 15, he opens the DRS, and it's going to be P3 with 10th up on his lap, puts him 3rd place and 3rd place only. Next up is Lewis Craig. What can he do in the McLaren? He's had a rough week. He ran wide. I don't know how that stays validated. He goes across the line, P2. It wasn't an improvement anyway. Ferrari next to Chris Johnson. What can he do? Puts himself at P7, 28.5 before Jake puts himself up to 11th. Jess Ball then. She's going to come across the line and it's going to be a 28.4. Puts her 4th. Deck. Pole position at the moment. That came from absolutely nowhere. Darky, he's invalidated his lap. CJ only 3rd place at the moment. It's between Alpha Jess who's invalidated. Can Kai do anything? He's going into pits. It is out of thin air. I did not expect this in the slightest. Deck is on pole position here in Bahrain by a solid margin of 1.5 tenths. Where on earth did that come from? He was completely under the radar. Did not expect that. Wow. Well, I think that is another new pulsar then this season. I think he might have got a bit of a slipstream from Jess Ball. But yeah, Deck then magically throws it out of the bag and gets himself pole position. Deck says he thinks it's his first pole position in TGP. So, congratulations to Deck. This season throws everything, like everything just comes out of nowhere. Like, you can't predict it. Anyway, here's your finishing order. Deck on pole position from Darky in P2, CJ just missing out on P2 by 10 milliseconds in 3rd, Lewis Craig 4th, Dan Morris 5th, Daniel P. Wilnut 6th, Jess Ball 7th, Chris Johnson 8th, Jack Craig 9th, Ryan Berry 10th, Luca down in 11th, not a great qualifying from him, Jake Warrior 12th, Alpha Jess 13th, Matty C 14th, and Kaya, who got into the session in 15th. No complaints there, I don't think, from him. If he can finish the race, I'm sure he won't complain. So, well, this throws a spanner in the works. I don't know if he's been practicing or that came out of nowhere. But, to honest, I'm shocked. In the championship order, he is 3rd place, only 9 places away from Jess. So, he could be moving himself up to P2, maybe even, if things go his way, top of the championship tonight. Probably more unlikely, but is he now coming out of nowhere to fight for the championship? Jack says, my Deck in the title hunt predictions looking good. Yeah, I did not expect it in the slightest, but yeah, he's proven you right. So, we wait for the drivers to select their tyres. And we'll hopefully be getting going very soon. So, yeah, I reckon this might be a medium soft, but we will see. It's a 25% race. Is Bahrain under the floodlights, of course. So yeah, as we can see, the floodlights. I do wish like maybe this game would give us like proper graphics while that everyone selects their tires instead of just looking at the pit lane. But hopefully in a minute we will get going very shortly in probably about 5 seconds. Hopefully. No? What are we waiting for? These guys are taking their time. Got to figure out the fuel as well. But anyway, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5 for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Deck on pole. Darky 2nd. Lights out and away we go. Who gets the better start between Deck and Darky? As we go on to the TV cam, it looks like Deck has held his place into turn 1. Darky not attacking, but Lewis Craig and CJ fighting out for 3rd place. Lewis Craig gets past CJ as the Ferrari in the background, Chris Johnson, has spun as CJ on the attack on Lewis Craig. Can't make the move. Meanwhile, further back, Luca battling Jess for P6. Jess Ball. Ryan Berry fighting with Dark Shadow for 10th place. Kaya, ooh, a little bit of contact there. He has moved himself up to P10. Meanwhile, CJ and Lewis fighting it out once again for P3. This has been going on almost the whole lap. They're going to go side by side into turn 9. and 10. CJ's going to send it down the inside, and does he make the move? Lewis runs a bit wide. They're going side by side onto the old start-finish straight. There's an Alpine of Dan Morris there, maybe going to get involved a bit. Who's going to come out of this into turn 12? They're still going side by side, but Lewis Craig pulls the move off on CJ, and job done from the McLaren driver so far. But CJ is still attacking the McLaren driver as we go to the leaders. Darky making an attack on deck. He sits back for now as Dan Morris having a little sneaky look on CJ. Very exciting start here in Bahrain. Meanwhile, we're going to cut to the front of the field where Darky is burning his DRS as they go side by side into turn 1. Who's going to take the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix? It is Darky on his soft tyres compared to Deck's medium tyres. Meanwhile, Dan Morris, he's made a move on CJ up to 4th place. He said he'd be struggling. Well, at the moment, he doesn't seem to be struggling. He's up into 4th place, getting past CJ. As CJ running a bit wide there, as I don't think that was very intentional. As Luke actually attacking a little bit here. Mixture of tyres then. I'm surprised Darky's on the softs, but he is. As Lewis Craig defending Dan Morris then. Dan Morris looks to be on a charge here. And yeah, then for lap 1, where we've had swaps all over. As we go on to the old start-finish straight. As Dan Morris and DRS open won't make a move on Lewis yet. A good run there, I'll tell you what he is. He's got pace. Man who claimed, I'm going to have no pace, this is going to be a rubbish circuit for me. At the moment, challenging for the podium, but at the moment, all of them fighting in lap 1 has let Darky and Deck pull away. And the thing about this game is they're going to be able to DRS train each other away from the leaders if possible. So, will Deck make a move on Darky this lap? Darky is saving his DRS. And will Deck send it down the inside? No, he sits back for now. Dan Morris gets past Lewis Craig. Lewis Craig tries to hold it round the outside. Doesn't make it stick. CJ had a little sniff, but can't make the move. Oh, he's had a poor exit as Lewis as they're going to go side by side on the second straight. Who's going to come out of this into turn 4? It looks like Lewis might get it. He defends the inside, but CJ gets the outside line. And they're going side by side. Who's going to come out ahead of this? As these two have been fighting since lap 1. They're still going side by side. Lewis, though, gets on the curb. And he sends it down the inside of CJ. That was unexpected. They've had a little bit of contact from wheel to wheel. But I think Lewis... He's going to have to settle? He is going to have to settle for P5. Good racing between these two. CJ was saying a few weeks ago, he asked Lewis, what is his favourite battle they've had together? Lewis struggled to give an answer, but... at the moment, I think this might be one of theirs, the best so far. So, meanwhile, we cut to the leaders once again. Deck chasing down Darky. I think he's saving his tyres a bit more. Just a little bit more than Darky is. Darky, I imagine, probably pushing to gap the guys, not just Deck, but also the likes of Dan Morris. As we start lap 4. Let's see, what does Lewis do on CJ? Pretty simple move. I think CJ was saving the ERS. As it's Luca maybe looking for a move. No, he had a little sniff, but nothing done. Lewis having another scruffy turn 1. And again, CJ will get the DRS. Which way will it go, left or right? He doesn't actually look for a move. I thought he would have gone past, but he's deciding to sit back. Lewis a bit squirmish on the throttle there. But at the moment, staying in 4th. And yeah, meanwhile, Chris Johnson, he had a spin on lap 1. He's made himself up to P14. Jake is all over the back of Daniel. All of these guys from the 4th downwards, all in this massive, massive train. So, we will see what goes on with these guys then. We've got a little bit of fighting going on. Thought maybe Jess was having a look at Luca. But none done as of yet. I tell you what, Dan Morris, he is catching Deck. So, this will be interesting from the championship leader. At the moment, is going to be extending his championship lead as it stands. But we've still got 10 laps to go here in Bahrain. And we've got another race tonight as well. But, as we watch on Lewis Craig, nearly 2 seconds off Dan Morris as Dark Shadow's having a little fight. Meanwhile, we watch on board with CJH, who gets past Lewis quite easily. But I tell you who else is coming through? Luca, who moves himself up to P4. He's made a double overtake. Can CJ defend? He does. He goes deep though. Who's going to come out on top here? Is it going to turn 3? CJ has to back off a little bit, but he will have the DRS. Does he have the DRS? He doesn't have the DRS. He's lost the DRS. As Lewis now going to try and make the move on him. He goes down the inside. There's always a bit of contact with Lewis, and Luca Lewis is around and facing the wrong direction. He has dropped down all the way down to P9. That is really unfortunate. I think he just outbroke himself, ran into the back of Luca. And well, Luca and CJ will say thank you very much. And that is one less driver for them to worry about. But unfortunate for Lewis. Don't think that was anyone's fault per se. I think Lewis just trying to defend from CJ and ran himself into the back of Luca. Unfortunate from the Scotsman, as CJ stays behind for one more lap behind Luca. That is one big threat. That CJ, obviously they were fighting near enough half this race, and well, I'm sure CJ can take a little breather now. As I tell you what, he doesn't seem to be taking that breather at the moment. He is pushing to get past Luca. Here we go, DRS open then. Goes into the slipstream. Not even burning any ERS. He goes and makes the move past Luca. Just going to try and make a move on him. No, she doesn't. Oh, meanwhile, we've got a move from the lead, and that is Starkey in the Mazepin gravel, and is facing, well, it's facing the right direction at least, but he is off and down into P6. I don't know what happened. I don't think they were close by on circuit. I was keeping an eye on it. I don't think they were. So unfortunately for Darky, he's down to P6, and that's a shame. He was leading this race, but not anymore. Deck then, he is your race leader. Dan Morris, he's coming for them. So still we have this fight from P3 down to what seems to be P9. Lewis has caught back up onto the train, which is good news, and Darky also might have had that spin and might have just cost himself the race win, but he is not out of the race. He can still get solid points if he continues on, which I believe he will. I have faith in the boy. So, let's keep an eye on Dan Morris, by the way. He is slowly but surely catching. I don't know if he'll get DRS this lap. No, he gets past Dark Shadow. Meanwhile, Jess having a look on Darky. Or Darky having a look on Jess, I don't know, but Darky goes around the outside, makes that move go. Will Jake try to make the move as well? Jess goes into the pits. So, no fighting happening there then. Meanwhile, Luca defending Darky off. Will he make a move on CJ? No, he won't. Meanwhile, Dan Morris, he is within 5/10 of Deck. No moves yet though. As it looks like everyone's going to stay where they are now. Lewis and Jess and Dark Shadow all in the pits then. Actually, let's look what tyres they've gone on to. As Lewis is going to come out behind Daniel. He's gone on to softs, so it's Jess and Dark Shadow, I imagine also. I think Lewis might have pitted. He's gone on to softs. Yeah, he pitted a few laps ago. So, meanwhile, I just want to look at this. Luca gained 7 positions in this race already. It's lap 7, but Darky's going to move that into 6 potentially. He is looking all over the back of the Mercedes. At the moment, though, not making the move. He's going to sit behind. I tell you what, he's looking really pacey. Despite those tyres being 6 lap old, he is looking very racy against the Mercedes. In fact, is he going to try and make the move? He's spending his ERS. This would be a very strange place to make a move into the final corner. So it's fine for now, though. If I am Darky, I'm thinking about pitting onto the mediums. Meanwhile, Deck goes into the pit lane, As so does Luca and Darky, who taps the rear end of Luca there. So, Deck onto the soft tyres. I presume most of these guys will be, apart from Darky, who goes onto the mediums. Chris Johnson gets in the way of me scrolling. CJ 3-second time penalty. That is something he seems to be getting a lot of this season. Something which has compromised him getting decent results all season. And it seems to be compromising him again. Meanwhile, Lewis Craig, DRS open. And we'll get past Daniel with no issue. And he comes out right behind, ahead of Jess. Oh, that's getting close between Daniel and Jess as they go side by side. Going on to the second straight. Who's going to come out on top? Jess tries to outbrake Daniel, who's on hards. Very strange tyre choice there, but Jess gets past. So, yeah, Lewis hasn't really gained or lost any time. Darky going to try and go around the outside. He's lost his front wing on the side pod of Luca. And he is now going to be struggling. He's still trying to get past Luca. He still seems to be quicker. Luca almost running off the circuit. But, well, this is going to be costing them time. These guys should be getting the undercut on CJ and Dan Morris. But at the moment, it's just costing themselves more times just having a little look on Lewis. So Darky now with a bit of front wing damage. I don't think Luca got any front wing damage. I don't know about side pod. Might not have. CJ into the pits. So Jake and Ryan. Jake with 10 seconds for speeding in the pits. Not something you want to get. Meanwhile, CJ then, let's see where he comes out in all of this, while also keeping an eye on this little fight which is going on. In fact, let's cut to them really quickly, because he should come out with these guys anyway, as these guys are miles ahead of him. Well, by miles, I mean CJ's dropped down to P5 with Lewis Craig again, these two fighting. And it looks like Lewis has gotten past CJ, and Jess is also going to follow getting past. She opens her DRS. Is she going to be able to? Lewis giving Jess almost a slipstream. And meanwhile, there's fighting going on here as well. Darky's still trying to get past Luca. CJ just about defending Jess. It's all kicking off here. I just don't know who to watch anymore. It's getting crazy. Darky really trying to get past Luca. That front wing damage is not affecting him in the slightest, which is crazy. He's pushing like crazy. He wants to get past Luca ASAP. He's really driving aggressive, which isn't probably what Luca wants to see. By the way, Deck and Luca 4-second gap. They're really costing each other time. Darky down the inside of Luca. Go side by side. Just about enough room for Luca to go around the outside. They're going side by side again for the fast right-hander. And Luca just about defending off Darky. It is getting very, very hard racing out there. It is what you love to see. Darky then staying behind for this lap. He knows he'll get DRS as he goes into turn 15. Meanwhile, Dan Morris comes out the pit lane. Will come out behind Deck. Meanwhile, Luca and Darky once again side by side. Dan Morris is only just there. Darky has made the move up into P3. And Luca will not get the benefit of the DRS because guess who has the DRS? Darky, but Luca's going to try and attack anyway. He's burning his ERS, goes down the inside of Darky, and Darky's going to try and go around the outside. Can't get the exit. I think the front wing damage does that. Oh, don't go side by side through there, boys. Darky backs out final second. Oh, that was close to a crash. Darky needs to cool his head a little bit. I think his head is slightly gone. He is driving aggressively. He wants to get past Luca. But he has to do this carefully. He doesn't want to cost himself potential podium, by the way. Let's not forget, Alpha just gets past Jack Craig. At the moment, Deck looking very comfortable in the lead, 3-second gap. He's not really been someone to watch. He's had his few little battles with Darky, and then he had a lap where Dan Morris looked like he was going to attack. But apart from that, he's been flawless all night. Meanwhile, CJ under attack from Jess just sits back for now. He's getting very, very close with these guys. They've been fighting all race, which is bonkers. Not been non-stop. Dan Morrison saving his ERS. Wait, it's ran out of ERS actually. Dark Shadow 3-second time penalty. Luca cannot make the move on Dan Morris's lap. Darky not close enough to do anything. Lock up again though. As CJ getting past Lewis. They've been fighting this whole race and there's more contact between the two of them. Lewis getting put onto the grass there. I think he was putting his nose where it shouldn't be. Meanwhile, Luca getting past Dan Morris into second place. He's going to be taking that podium spot. Dan tries to fight it, but ultimately just can't get on the throttle early enough. Darky's nearly pushing Dan Morris through the corners. He needs to be careful. He's getting too excited on the brakes. And he's going to end up ramming someone. But so, CJ and Lewis then contact only a little bit. But it did mean that Lewis did ultimately go off a little bit. So maybe the stewards might have to have a little think about being punished. But I don't. I think it's just hard racing. Darky and Dan Morris going side by side. They have that Darky's character put his hand up in frustration. There must have been a little bit of contact, but Dan Morris keeps the place in third place then. As Darky 3-second time penalty, you don't want to be getting that, mate. So now Darky and CJ both fighting each other for position. CJ looking like he was going to go for a move. I actually thought he was going to send it, but he doesn't. Meanwhile, Deck starts lap 12 out of 14. Dan Morris opens his DRS. He goes and gets past Luca. Is Darky going to try and make a move on Luca as well? Luca tries to fight Dan Morris, but can't make the move stick. He will wait for the second DRS straight to go. And here we go then. And I think this should be quite an easy move for Luca, who goes down the inside into P2. Oh, but he's gone wide, and Dan Morris is going to say thank you very much, and we'll take the position back for P2. So these guys all fighting out for pretty much P2 as CJ ran very wide on that curb. And Lewis getting a bit out of shape there. You don't want to be doing that when they're all in a DRS train. One mistake and you fall out that 1 second gap. You've got a lot of work to do. Alpha Jess, meanwhile, she has had a little spin. Spun there in quali, I believe. As Lewis, I thought was maybe going to get passed by Jess, but no, he doesn't. Meanwhile, oh, what's going on there? These guys are all getting, like, clustered up with each other. Every time I look on the camera, it looks like they're about to crash with each other, but they don't. Cameras make it all trippy. Meanwhile, CJ, though, he's trying to get past Darky, but he just can't find a way past. He needs to make this move, because otherwise he's going to lose more time. Darky spun, and he's taken CJ with him. And CJ facing the wrong way, Darky facing the right way, but has lost a lot of positions, and that is CJ. Oh, man. That is a shame. And I think Darky might have just lost himself a friend here in TGP2. Meanwhile, Luca trying to attack Dan Morris again. Moves himself up to P2. Dan Morris gets the switch back. Very simple move there from Luca. Meanwhile, Jess gets past Lewis for P4. Okay, that is a lot to take in. As CJ and Chris Johnson are now fighting, but CJ front wing damage. That's very unfortunate. He was fighting Lewis, he was fighting everyone, and it looked like it was going to be a good fight, but Darky just got on the curb and spun himself. He's gonna probably finish ahead of him, but well, that's on circuit anyway. Yeah, that's an unlucky incident and unfortunate, but this has also meant that the field has slightly spread out. They've kind of gone into their own groups. Dan Morris and Luca now in their own fight for P2, and then it's a fight for P4 with Jess and Lewis Craig. Jake and Ryan Berry. Ryan Berry, what a bloody drive from him. Apologies for language. He's only gained 3 places, but considering how his quality was going, decent drive from him. P7 at the moment. There's nearly a bit of a spin there from Lewis, and he's going to try and get past Jess. Does that pretty simply for P4. Jess, I think, saving her rear rest for the next straight though. Meanwhile, Luca and Dan Morris have had crash, and that's Dan Morris now facing into the gravel. And that's Luca, who I believe is slowing down. Dan Morris has had near enough another spin. Luca then slowing down to let him through, but ah dear. This podium is an unexpected podium, that's for sure. Lewis now in second, Jess third, Jake Warrior at the moment fourth place with a 10-second time penalty. Will drop down because Ryan Berry's going to get fourth. This is great points for Aston Martin. Daniel up in sixth and halves. Dan Morris seventh, Darky eighth. Tell you what, only 2 laps ago was Dan Morris in second, Darky was third, Luca was fourth, CJ was like fifth, and they're all now outside the top 5. Meanwhile, though, as we're going to really quickly watch, can Ryan Berry get past Jake Warrior? It's not going to matter too much because Jake's got his penalty, but he's going to sit behind. Meanwhile, though, one man who hasn't been in any contact, any issues at all, it's been absolutely brilliant drive from him. He's already weaving on the back straight. He deserves this win. He's been absolutely faultless, and he is going to go through the final few corners. He is your Bahrain Grand Prix winner. Driver of the day by far. Deck is a race winner in TGP, and he takes the win. Lewis Craig will get P2, Jess will get third, Ryan Berry will get fourth, great drive from him. Daniel P. Wilnut fifth, Dan Morris sixth, Lucas seventh, Chris Johnson eighth. Darky's going to give himself a penalty for crashing over the line. Jake all the way down in 10th, that's unfortunate for him. CJ 11th with that contact with Darky. Alpha Jess will get 12th, and Macy 13th before the big gap to Dark Shadow in 14th and 15th place. Jack Craig gets past Dark Shadow on the final corner. Can Dark Shadow fight him? Oh, he's going to get on the throttle. Jack getting a bit out of shape, but Jack will get 14th. But Deck is your race winner here in TGP. Brilliant drive from the Aston Martin driver. Yeah, that was a very scruffy race, but a race which I personally enjoyed. However, I think that there could have definitely have been, results which were lost. Dan Morris should have been higher. So should have CJ. Should have Darky really. Though his own mistake cost him there. But CJ and Dan Morris did nothing wrong, and unfortunately, they're the ones who have to pay for the consequences. Yeah, not the most beautiful thing. I tell you what though, with Jess being P2, this really does make a good move on the championship. Anyway, here is your race order then. Deck gets the win from pole to the finish in P1. Lewis Craig P2, great drive from him considering I believe he's still a bit hampered with his broken thumb. Jess in third place, great drive from her. Ryan Berry fourth with the fastest lap as well. Great drive. Daniel P. Wilnut fifth. Dan Morris sixth for the crash with Luca in seventh. Chris Johnson eighth. Darky ninth. Jake Warrior 10th. CJ 11th. Alpha Jess 12th. Matty C 13th. Jack Drake 14th. And Dark Shadow 15th. Oh, need to catch my breath after that. We've still got another race. Chris Johnson asks if he can be relegated to TGP3, which I don't think you can yet. It's not a thing. Let's look at the championship order real quick then. So, with Jess getting P2 in the race and Dan Morris having the spin put him, I think it was P7. Yeah, definitely the gap closes, and Deck winning, that puts him in really good contention. I think he closes the gap to Jess definitely. But they're all Lewis Craig as well, fourth. Where did he finish? He finished second. Jess finished third. So he's definitely potentially in the fight. CJ with the crash with Darky definitely has been hampered. And then yeah, so I didn't realise how close Deck was to this title fight. He's looking really good. He's looking really, really good. So keep an eye on him, because I feel like this could definitely get a bit more interesting here in TGP2. This is going to bring results which we didn't think would come. I think I said at the start of the season, keep an eye out on Deck, but I didn't realise how serious I meant. But yeah, as we wait for us to get into qualifying. Yeah. There's Dan Morris, unsurprisingly gutted. I don't blame him. I imagine CJ is quite good. Has he put anything in the chat? He hasn't. Oh, actually, has he? No, he hasn't. His profile picture looks close to Darkies, so yeah. Nothing said by CJ, keeping his mouth shut. Probably for the better. Actually, he's typing. I was going to say, don't want to have a massive kick-off in the chat. Them two have had a bit of a fight in the group chat before. Bit of an argument. Yeah, as he's put the clip into the chat. We watched on board with him, I believe, anyway, so we don't need to see it. Oh, he's actually watched it from the stream. There you go, then. So, yeah, got him from CJ. I say got him from him, it was Darky who did it from, but hopefully keeps his head up high for Belgium, and yeah, we shall be good. Jake Warrior saying he's hopefully going to get his penalty removed, which can get him into P4. That'd be a great finish for him. Jake's very much a driver where if something happens, he's always there to pick up the pieces, which is, you want to be that driver. If you're not fighting for the championship, you want to be the one who can always pick up the pieces and get those results. Canada, for one especially, where everything kicked off and he was there. He got that podium. Was fighting for the winners at some point. So, yeah. Aston's making gains on Alpine after all that. Which is crazy. So, we're going to watch on board with Deck then. Race winner from last race, so we go and watch on board with him in the qualifying. Once we get going, everyone's readied up, so any second now would be brilliant. I'm just going to very quickly check that everything is working. Looks good from my side, just double checking. So Jack's title hunt prediction, he said it earlier in the stream, looking ever so more promising. I think he should become a betting man. Dan Morris saying, now onto this naughty word track. See, what is amusing is obviously Dan Morris, right? He didn't get the result he wants, but he did say earlier, "Oh, Bahrain's not my great track." Before that crash, he was fighting for second place. Like, he needs to have a bit more positivity. So dry quali then. I'm going to flip my phone around in case it's raining, because we know Spa does like to throw us some rain. Actually, I'd say that I need the track map, because trust me when I say I'm bad with the names around here, because it's such a big track that there's so many corner names. You've got Rouge, Radion, the Campbell Strait, Lacombe, Campus, Blanchimont, the bus stop chicane. It's so hard to keep up with it that I need, for like this circuit specifically, out of all of them, I always have my track maps anyway, but this specifically I need it. So you're gonna get a brilliant walkthrough of the circuit with me trying to say some Belgium names which I definitely cannot pronounce. So hold on to your horses and we will have fun watching Deck. Who is it going to put us onto there? It puts us onto CJ, which would be useful if he won the race. Deck then goes into turn 1. La Source. I'm going to clip the apex on the inside. Kind of ran it a bit too wide, but gets on the foot early. And then you go into, down the hill, into a Rouge, and then up onto Radion before you go onto the Campbell Strait, and Deck is already invalidated, but we will carry on watching on board with him anyway. Go down the Campbell Strait, you go 200 miles per hour into Lacombe, turn 5, turn 6, very wide from Deck, who nearly loses the rear end, into turn 7, and then you go into Raquel's, apologies, and then You flick the car into what was No Name Corner. I don't know. They changed the name of it. I can't remember what to though. Going down the hill, you go to Double Gotche. And pretty nicely done by Beth. I know it's invalidated, but it's doing okay. Despite the fact. You then go to Les Dragonus and then Campus. Pretty neatly done. And then you go through Paul Frey. You can tell I don't talk other languages. Anyway, we go through to Blanchimont. And it's been a decent lap from Deck. It's a shame that he invalidated, really. Intrigued to see what the lap would be as you go into the bus stop chicane. You clip the apex on the right, and in the left, Deck has fumbled that quite specifically into the final corner and across the line. It is a 143.3 from Dan Morris, who takes pole position here in Belgium. I do apologise once again about my pronunciations. I should know these by now. I've been watching F1 long enough, but I don't. So Dan Morris then, pole position by 3/10 from CJ before another 3/10 gap to Luca. Lewis Craig in 4th place with Chris Johnson 5th. Ryan Berry in 6th place, was leading quite a bit of that lap until obviously the final bit. Jeff Ball in 7th, Jack Warrior 8th, Matty C 9th, Darky, Dark Shadow, Jack Craig, Daniel P. Wilnut, Player Sports and Deck all invalidating their lap times, which means only 9 drivers completed laps. So, I'll try not to fumble the names for the race. I'll just say the words which I know. And I'll just say turn 5, turn 6, because yeah, I cannot read. I cannot pronounce names which I'm not used to. So, I believe we have a wet race. Okay, I was going to say a dry race, but yeah. So we actually haven't updated standings. Dan Morris still leads it. Deck in P2 only 61 takeaway 39, 20 odd points behind. Jess only 2 points behind Deck, and Lewis Craig only 8 points behind Jess. So we've got a good fight here still. Darky said, "My pole streak is over, I'm so happy." I've never known anyone be happy that their pole streak is over. But here we are. I'm going to have a quick sip of my drink. Oh, maybe not. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's Dan Morris from CJ in the pouring rain here in Spa. It's lights out and away we go. Who gets the better start between the two? As they go in to turn 1, it looks like CJ is going to try and go around the outside of Dan Morris. It looks like he might have the move stick, but he doesn't. Dan Morris gets on the throttle early as they touch wheels. Bit of a scruffy start from the two of them, but Dan Morris leads us away as he goes down into Eau Rouge. And then Radion. CJ does have a run on Dan Morris though. Here we go, there's a bit of front wings going around. They're going 3 wide down the Kemmel straight here. Luca came out of absolutely nowhere as they go 3 wide, and CJ takes the lead from Dan Morris as Luca's going to try and send it down the inside. Has to sit back for now as Darky's ran into the back of Lewis Craig. I really hope that isn't front wing damage for him. It is Chris Johnson in 6th place. And yeah, the game kind of messed me about there. I tried to cut to the camera, it just wouldn't work. We're just staring up the hill, which is quite unfortunate. But CJ then leads us away. CJ very good in the wet. We know this from Monaco, and we know this from previous races as well. He just cooks every time we go in the wet conditions. And if he wants this championship, he's gonna need a good result here tonight in Spa. But top 3 still staying together. And Lewis Craig slightly dropping back from Luca. And I'm sure Darky is going to want to make a move on the Scotsman. As Daniel P. Wilnut is getting past Dark Shadow, who has gone into the grass and has dropped down to P14. Unfortunate. There. Meanwhile, Luca eyeing up a move on Dan Morris. Dan Morris needs to be careful here because if he drops too many points, he's in a comfortable championship lead, but he needs to make sure he doesn't cost himself too much. Luca's not in the title fight. nor is CJ, unless he starts really performing unlucky. There's still a I think there's like 6 races to go, so it's not out of contention, but he's going to need to start performing from here on out to get himself in the title fight. It's a shame really, because he should have been in the title fight, but then there's just been races like Bahrain where he's just been really unlucky. Anyways, we go down Eau Rouge and up into Radion, who is going to be leading after the Camel Straight once again. I think it will still be CJ because, well, they're acting like they're slipstream, but the spray cancels it out, so I don't get the weaving there. The field is very much separated, and it looks like we could be getting a move from Deck on Jake Warrior. He goes down the inside and makes the move stick into P10 Deck, so he needs to get himself up there again. He is fighting for this title. He needs to prove that he's fighting for this title, especially when his title rival is up in P2. This could be huge gains from the Alpine driver. So he needs to. Dan obviously will probably want the win if Chris Johnson gets past his teammate who has lost more of his front wing. I'd love to know how he's done that. As is lost his head. I think in fact he's spun again. As Dan tries to look up the inside. It's just having a look on Ryan Berry. Can't make the move stick. And yeah, oh, Darky is really struggling out there. Hitman. Oh, he's had a crash with Daniel. Oh, that's messy. That's really messy. That was a dangerous rejoin from Daniel. We had this the other week where he just had a really messy rejoin. And it's happened again. Oh dear. As, yeah. Darky pit. Don't retire. Just, okay. Is there any need to be so aggressive in this? Yeah. Cool. So, we ignore that. And we go up into a rouge once again. The leaders, that's all in the second window. Well, Dan Morris not now. He's had a dreadful exit. But, they're all like near enough in a second window, but because there's no DRS, they can't really get together. Which is where CJ cooks. He doesn't. I think the issue with CJ, which he has, is he needs a few laps to get that second window. But because this game is so addictive to DRS, it loves it. He can't do that second window. Where now, because he's in the wet, for one, I think he loves the handling much more. He doesn't have that DRS for them to catch back up when he does get, let's say, 8 tenths ahead. He just cooks. He does, and he is, at the moment, flying away 1.2 seconds ahead of Dan Morris. It's perfect for him so far. But, let's not count these guys out. We've still got 9 laps to go. Anything can happen in this race. And I do wonder if maybe the track will dry up, maybe it will lighten up. We will find out. At the moment though, to be honest, I'm surprised it's wet. It looked at the start of it like Inter's, but apparently it's wet tyres. I don't know if it stays like that for the rest of the race. Dark Shadow for a second time penalty. It's not been a great race for Dark Shadow, but I kind of have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He did have the connection issues and everything like that. Say Sports loses the place to Daniel, who had that crash with Dark Shadow. Very wide from Say Sports. Who had that crash with Darky. There's too many Darks. Dark Shadow, Darky. Yeah. So. Yeah. As Deck has gotten past Jess into the first corner and has moved himself up to P7. This has been a really good night for Deck. I know he invalidated quali. There's not been a 10 out of 10, but he has been absolutely just... He pushes and he gets through the grid. He's managed to make from last to what will be 6th, because I imagine Ryan Berry's going to let him through. He indeed does. Last to 6th in the space of 4 laps in the wet. It's a really good drive from Deck. So, you know, he's proven the haters wrong, that's for sure. Just double checking, yeah, 9 places gained for Deck. Oh, that's wide from Luca. You can't be doing that often, mate. Yeah. So Matty C, 10-second time penalty for corner cut, and it looks like he's struggling a bit. Yeah, so CJ gains 1 place, for obviously taking the lead. Everyone else, Luca, Lewis Craig, Chris, stays the same places. And then Deck, he's just, yeah, crazy. 9 places gained, Ryan Berry, Jess, Jake, 1 place lost, and Daniel and Zay Sports 3 places gained, with Matty C and Dark Shadow both rocking. Meanwhile, I did cut to it and I didn't think anything was happening, but Jack Rogue and Sarah Sports fighting for 11th place. Are we going to see a move from Jack Rogue at the moment? Not when he gets out of shape like that. He's lost some time to Sarah Sports. He'll really be able to catch up. Everyone's not really close to each other, but people who are Jess and Ryan Berry. Can Jess make a move on Ryan Berry as Matty C has gone off, and that's not how fast you want to go into the barrier. I'm hoping he carries on. Anyway, we go to this fight for P7. And just trying to get the switchback almost to get the extra run going through Radion, as that is a safety car. Matty C has lost his front wing. Some head loss potentially, I don't know, but well, this makes the race a little bit more interesting, because do you put on another set of wets? Do you go into inters? I don't think it's inters, as Matty C retires in the pits despite the fact he's caused a safety car. There's a safety car, just carry on, man. So as Matty leaves the session, yeah, do you go onto the wet tyres, or do you gamble for inters, or do you just stay on the tyres you're on? It is now that situation, because the wets, they don't quote unquote wear, but even with just 5 lap difference, they might even just say 10% on them, but it is a massive gain for some reason. So, you know, especially if I'm lower down, let's say Dark Shadow, who has just got himself a trifle. You know, these guys, you might as well just go onto another set of wets, see what you can do, and who knows, maybe it'll go well for you. Meanwhile, CJ is apparently 1 minute and 49 seconds faster than his previous best according to the game. If you look at his wheel, you'll see the 1.50 in the green. So I think Haas need to maybe fix their tracker. I don't think that's right. What does CJ do? Does he pit or does he stay out? I'm intrigued to see. He pits. Dan Morris stays out. All of these guys staying out. Lewis Craig also into the pit, so not everyone's staying out. What does Chris Johnson do? Slowing down, I presume that's the Delta doing that. Very late decision, but Chris Johnson pits. Deck stays out. Ryan Berry pits. These guys are very late deciding. Jess also in the pits. So we've got very mixed up grid right now, as the intermediates for CJ. Okay, that's a gamble? Is it intermediates? I tell you what, if it's intermediates, Dan Morris is in quite a bad spot. He might be leading the race now, but if he's not on the right tyre, he is going to struggle. Is it the intermediate tyre? I think it might be. CJ, Lewis Craig, both on intermediates. Chris Johnson, Daniel, Jess, Bull, Ryan Berry, Jack Craig, and Dark Shadow, all on the intermediate tyres. Wow, okay, I did not click on. It looks the same weather as where it started in. Apparently it's intermediate tyres. So, Dan Morris now might be in a spot of bother. Okay. See, if I'm Dan Morris now, you have to look at this. You've got 2 ways of looking at it. You can go, screw it, I might as well just finish the race on these wets. What happens, happens. or if the safety car stays out another lap, you might as well box. Because you're going to only lose more and more positions than if you're to stay out on the rest of the lap. Because unless it's meant to rain more again, I don't know. This has really shook up the race. Like, really shook it up. That's surprising. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. So, I believe, with Dark Shadow being so far behind, we should get another lap under the safety car. If I'm Dan Morris, I am pushing that safety car. Like, I'm going to be literally putting my front wing against the safety car and hoping that he will stay out another lap. He's actually backed off, so I presume he's doing that thing where it comes up saying catch the safety car, so then it stays out another lap. But Dark Shadow then catching up. I don't think it's coming in this lap. It'd be a very late decider, and no, it's not coming in this lap, which means will we see these guys pit? We don't see them pit. Okay, interesting. They're sports pits. Only one to pit. Wow. Okay, this is a weird scenario. I honestly thought they'd pit because even let's say if Dan Morris pitted, I imagine Luca and Jake would have also followed him in. So they would have still came out and like Dan Morris would have came out 9th or something like that. Where his rival is literally 9th anyway, so like it'd only be one position lost. Where if he stays out and it is intermediates, they're gonna have such an advantage on the rest of the field. This is really interesting position here. Intriguing. There's Dan Morrison weaving. I thought with him backing off that it would have meant that he would have pitted, because he left a massive gap to the safety car. So I thought maybe he was trying to get it to start an extra lap so he could pit, but he decided to just stick it out. Unless he's thinking the more time I waste under the safety car, the less likely I'm going to lose all the positions. I don't know, this is an interesting position. This is I did not expect this going into tonight. Honestly, I thought they're pitting onto another set of wets, and then I looked at CJ, I said green. I'm like, surely I'm not imagining it. And then they were on there. Unless it's meant to completely dry up, and Dan Morris is thinking track position is more important, it will dry up in time. I don't know. A wet to dry race would be very amusing to watch. We've watched the safety car drive about. I presume it will come in very soon. And yeah, Dan Morris weaving. Trying to, I would say getting heat into the tyres, but I imagine if it is intermediate conditions, he won't need to get heat into the tyres. I think the safety car is in this lap. It is indeed. So we have got 6 laps. 6 laps? Yeah. Yeah, starting lap 8 will be 6 laps to go. In this race, Dan Morris really slowing up the grip. I do wonder if it's meant to dry up. I don't know. We'll find out. Dan Morris then. When will he go? No one can overtake until it goes green flags. At the moment it is still a yellow flag. And so we'll see when he goes. No one can overtake until you go across the line pretty much. So it doesn't matter when he goes, and he's gone now. He has gone and left everyone for dust. And will take us into the bus stop chicane. What will we see in this race? Will it be Dan Morris and Luca who has pulled off a good strategy, or will CJ prove everyone wrong? Meanwhile, Jess has had a spin. Not a great start from her and her title hopes. Meanwhile, CJ, can he go around the outside of Luca? He can't make any moves yet. He's got the traction, and that's a very simple move. I didn't realise how much of a better traction he had. He moves himself up to P2. Those wets, maybe not what it first seemed like. Will Luca try and fight him back, though? He He's not, I don't think. He's sitting back for now. Meanwhile, Lewis Craig getting past Deck. Into P4. Chris Johnson getting past Jake Warrior? It is looking like the Inters are the right tyre, but what have... Oh, Lucas got a 3-second time penalty. He's also dropped down to P4. What has Dan Morris got cooking for him to want to stay out on those wet tyres? At the moment, CJ, despite going wide a little bit there, he is catching. So is Lewis Craig. So these wet tyre drivers could be in a spot of bother unless it's meant to start raining heavy again. At the moment, you know what, the gap's not actually that big. I thought it'd be much bigger than what it is. 7/10. There's not been a massive gain here from CJ. It's definitely been a gain, but it's actually set faster set to 2. Okay, never mind. Here we go then. He's got a run on him. You could make the move into the bus stop chicane. Here he goes in the slipstream. He's burning his ERS. Can he make the move? Not yet. Is he going to send it down the inside if I'm CJ? I'm a little sneaky look. He's going for it. He's sent it down the inside. Oh, that got a bit too close for comfort there from CJ, but he holds it. He hasn't had the crash. He is still fighting. He needs to stay on the circuit. Also be warned of Lewis, because Lewis is only there. And one mistake from CJ and Lewis could get through. Deck and Luca, meanwhile, are fighting out. Looks like Luca is defending Deck. But here we go then. Down into a Rouge. And then rally on. Will CJ be able to get the move? Going onto the Kemble Straight. He is right over the back of him. He moves to the right, will he? Oh, he goes to the left. He goes into right of our screens. Down the inside he goes, around the outside, should I say. Oh, he's run himself wide though. Needs to be careful he doesn't get a penalty. And Dan Morris then gets that place back, otherwise it might be an illegal overtake. But he's got another run on him. Does CJ? He's going to send it down the inside. No, he doesn't, but Dan Morris gets a bit squirmish on the exit, on the break-in. But it looks like Dan Morris just about holding off CJ, you know. Maybe the wets aren't that different compared to the Inters at all. He's really defending here, Dan Morris. He's doing a good job of it as well. CJ probably starting to get impatient here. You can see the yellow McLaren, orange McLaren, all in his wing mirrors. Here he goes. Can he go around the outside here? He's going to try it. Oh, they've had contact again, and Lewis Craig now into P2. A little bit more contact from CJ and Dan Morris, and now it is Lewis Craig's to lose. All he has to do... Oh, he's had a bit of contact with Dan Morris as well. There's a little bit more bumping and jumping from these guys. Dan Morris trying everything he can to defend from these guys, but Lewis Craig goes side by side. They're bumping wheels. They're trying everything. Dan Morris is doing everything he can to defend from these guys. But I think Lewis Craig might have them. They're still going side by side, going through Bonchamon. And it looks like, I think Lewis might have it. CJ's going to try and go down the inside of Dan Morris. Dan Morris is losing everything the more and more the race goes on. I think he's just peeled into the pits. And that is unfortunate for Dan Morris, who could have had a much better race had he made the right strategy. Meanwhile, CJ trying to go around the outside of Lewis Craig. He's found himself a bit too wide, washed him out of road. At the moment though, Lewis Craig is your race leader though, from CJ. And I tell you what, a little bit of a train from Luca on deck here. And we've got Chris Johnson and Daniel all over the back of him. But CJ then, he's got a run on Lewis. I told you, CJ, mega in the rain. Well, he's about to take the race lead again, I think. He's going to go around the outside of Lewis Craig. Lewis can't really fire too much, and he makes the move. CJ into the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. 5 laps to go. So, Luca and Deck trying to defend off Chris and Daniel. Meanwhile, Dan Morris then down in P12 after that pit stop, but his title rival Jess only P9, so she's not having the best race. She needs a better race than 9th. But I'll tell you who is there. Deck, who if he had pitted would be in a really good fighting chance of the title, but he is now under pressure from Chris Johnson. He's going to try and go around the outside of the Aston Martin driver. The Aston Martin driver gives him room, just about room. And Chris Johnson, ooh, a nice little drift from Deck, but he does lose the position to 5th place, and I do think those wet tyres were not the choice. for these guys. But Lewis Craig then, he is just about being able to keep CJ. Though, oh, did he just break his whole floor or something? Or did the confetti just fly out of the ground? Yeah, these wets aren't looking all that great. Daniel trying to make a move on deck, but nothing great. Oh, he's actually pitted. I think he caught Daniel a bit off guard there. Ryan Berry up to P6 then, and deck. Well, the title leaders are really quite far down the order, truth be told, and well, it's not great for them, is it? Jess 8th, Dan Morris 9th, and Deck 11th. Who would have predicted that going into this race? So at the moment it's CJ from Lewis Craig from Luca, who is defending Chris Johnson off. He's doing a really good job on those wets, you know. Ah, Lewis, 3-second time penalty. Not too much of a bother, I don't think. He's probably hoping CJ would get his notorious 3 seconds that he does get every race, but at the moment, he's doing quite a good job. He did have that off moment, but I don't think he would have got any warning with it because he slew down so much. But yeah, with Lewis Craig getting that penalty, Lewis can't really rely on CJ getting a penalty now, as he is 1.5 seconds down the road. Just CJ is so good in the wet, it's crazy. He could probably be fighting, probably up the front in TGP1 with his wet pace. It's great. I've raced him in the wet myself. He's a beast in the wet, but someone else who's a beast in the wet is Luca, clearly, because he's doing bits holding up these guys. He just gets past Jack Craig for 8th. Luca, another 3-second time penalty. He's trying, right? If he had no penalty, this would be really impressive, but with the penalty, it's just kind of like, he's got nothing to lose, he's just hold everyone up. Will Chris Johnson be able to get the move? Could he end up on the podium? I guess we're going to find out. Can he make the move in the bus stop chicane? He's going to send it down the inside. Oh, he couldn't really he couldn't make up his mind if he wanted to make the move, but he has to sit behind for now. He went on the break when actually I could make this move, and I went, yeah, nah, maybe not. He's going to send it down the inside of Luca here into turn 1. It's kind of outbroke himself, but surely Chris will get the better exit. No, he doesn't. As Daniel has now actually gone past. There's a bit of contact with Chris, and Chris has hit the barrier, and now I think Ryan Berry's going to be able to get past him. How is he kept with the guys ahead? He's now going to actually have a run on the both of them. Here he goes. Chris Johnson with the slipstream on Daniel. He's going to try and go around the outside. Oh, they've outbroke themselves. Daniel into P3. Luca with the front wing damage. He's crashed with Chris Johnson. And that is Luca down into P6. Not where he wanted to finish in this race. How Chris Johnson, honestly, he's got himself a bit of front wing damage, but how he made that without spinning and kept with the guys ahead, that's seriously impressive. So he's in P4. At the moment, Daniel is on course to getting himself a podium. Luca, meanwhile, is on course to finishing down in P9. Jess, by the way, has gotten overtaken by Jack Craig. Now, this is the Alpine teamwork going on here. Jack, all he has to do is hold up Jess and just give Dan Morris a little bit of pace and time. Meanwhile, something's happened in the front, because guess who's caught up? Lewis Craig is caught up to CJ. It's a 10th. I don't know what I've missed, but there must have been some wild mistake from CJ for him to gain that much time. This has came out of absolute nowhere. I was looking at the midfield, and well, look at this. Lewis is all over the back of CJ. Is there going to be a move? Meanwhile, Dan Morris past CJ. CJ from past Jess for P8. And it's all starting to kick off again here in Spa. You get a little breather, and then it all kicks off once again. Can Lewis get past CJ? Or is CJ just about going to be able to defend? I know Lewis has that penalty, but you never know. CJ could get a penalty now, and it would mean a lot in this race. Here goes Lewis then. He's burning his ERS. He hasn't got a lot of ERS. Nor does CJ, though. Will there be a move from Lewis? Is he going to try it down the inside? I don't think it's close enough. No, he has to sit back for now. So, CJ then, all he has to do is to keep it in the white lines. And he will probably win this race with Jim and there's no mistakes. Just keep up the tarmac. That's what you have to do. Meanwhile, Luca is he's still out on those wet tyres with half a front wing. And he's just, yeah, holding up Dan Morris now. Oh, that was a bit aggressive, but Dan Morris gets past Luca. Dan Morris, you know what? He might have pitted late, but P6, there's nothing to complain about with that. Meanwhile, Lewis still trying to get past CJ. Nearly caused himself to spin with that weave. At the moment, it looks like CJ has this under control. He might get past, but unless Lewis can gain 3 seconds, it's at least looking comfortable. I believe, yeah, I think CJ is quite comfortable. He might have an orange rear, orange full of rear mirror full of orange, but just keep it on the circuit and you'll be fine. You've got 2 laps to go. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. Oh, thought he was going to make a move there. Lewis does seem to have more traction out of nowhere. I don't know where this has come from. He looked really slow, and then all of a sudden it just came alive as Ryan Berry and Chris Johnson are fighting for P4. That is more contact going on there. It looks like he squeezed him off into the bus stop chicane, but it looks like, is Chris Johnson going to get the move? Oh, what is Ryan Berry doing there? That's not the right part of the track we should be going. Meanwhile, we watch on board with the leaders once more. He's burning, but I don't think he's burning enough. Well, he has nothing to burn, really. He stays behind in P2. He might just have to accept P2. Just don't get yourself another penalty, because otherwise you might lose 3rd place. Meanwhile, this fight for P7 is going on, with Luca still on track. I don't know if he's just trying to annoy everyone, or if he actually, you know... I say that, he's got himself a result. I just think if he'd pitted when Dan Morris did, he would still... I don't think he's gained or lost anything, really. If he pitted when Dan Morris did, he would have probably been 7th anyway. Now, Jess getting past Jack Craig for P8, so she might still be behind Dan Morris, but so is Dex. Dex down in 10th, so Dan Morris still going to be gaining points. But then again, every point's matters, so yeah, we'll go on to the final lap and we'll see who wins this on circuit at least. Switching on board with CJ. Let's switch on board with Lewis. At the moment though, it's looking quite comfortable for CJ. Just keep it on the circuit. You can't lose 3 seconds by trying to keep it on the circuit. He's actually got 4 seconds because Lewis is slightly falling behind. I don't think he's going to have enough to really attack. He's got a lot of ERS. He's got probably more than CJ, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. No, he's got quite a bit more. The gap is closing. Down to 6 tenths, 5 tenths. Here we go, down to Ivrouge, into Radion, onto the Kemmel Straight. Who is going to come out of the straight on top? I tell you what, I think not Lewis, CJ might have this in the bag still. He's catching, but he's not catching enough. He's going to have to sit behind, and I think this might be it for Lewis. I think he's going to have to accept P2, unless something major happens from CJ. Meanwhile, the fight for P5, Dan Morris past Ryan Berry. He's going to try and get past Chris Johnson as well. He's going to go around the outside of Chris Johnson. Who's going to come out on top? Wow, what a move from Dan Morris. Chris Johnson getting all out of shape, so he's not had a great race as Chris Johnson. Was fighting for the podium, now fighting for P6. I think that front wing damage is not helping him at all, as he is, yeah, he's really struggling. Anyhow, anything is what I was going to say. I can't talk today. Jess passed Luca for P7, and Deck has gone past Jack Craig for P9. But CJ, he has driven a near perfect race. He might have had a little moment. He had obviously a second to Lewis Craig, but apart from that, really good drive from CJ. He is going to, presuming he can get through the final 2 corners, he's going to win his 2nd victory of the season. He comes through the final corner CJ is a winner in TGP again. He will come across the line and he sets the fastest lap of the race, just to boast in front of everyone. He is a winner again. Lewis Craig P2 on the podium for the first time since last race. Daniel P. Wheelnut in third place. Great result from him to get third. Dan Morris, recovery drive in the end, fourth place. Pretty great drive actually. Ryan Berry in P5, good result from him. Chris Johnson struggled in P6. Jess Ball in 7th. Deck in the end P8, not the worst drive in the world, but he could have been much higher. Luke in 9th. Jack Craig 10th. Jake Warrior will end up in 11th. And then we've got Kaya and Sayer Sports for the final corner for 12th and 13th. But CJ is a winner again. And is this maybe a statement to say he is not quite done with the season just yet? As he drives around, so it's a little parade lap. And yeah, great drive from CJ. And yeah, he put in the chat, when the safety car comes in, these lot are going to be easy meat. And well, it wasn't that quite easy. Dan Morris definitely put up a fight, and I have to give him full credit. I really cannot talk today. Full credit for the defence. It was a little bit messy, but he tried his hardest, and in the end, P4 is not bad. P4 is not bad, considering he complained at both races saying, I'm really bad at these circuits. P6 and P4, not bad. So CJ with the fastest lap takes the win ahead of Lewis Craig from Daniel P. Wilnut, great drive from him. Dan Morris P4, Ryan Berry P5, Chris Johnson 6th, Jess Ball 7th, Deck 8th, Luca 9th, Jack Craig 10th, Jake Warrior 11th, Dark Shadow 12th, Say Sports 13th, Matty C 14th, and Darky 15th. Now I have to pick a driver of the day, which is a very difficult one because in both races it got very messy at times, but I think I'm going to have to give it to Lewis. He's not really had much to watch apart from the final few laps of I'll say that actually. No, he had great battles in Bahrain. Came up to get P2 in both of them, and I think by far was cleanest to stay out of trouble. He had the bits of contact, but he managed to get P2 in both races, despite everything. So I think Lewis might be driver of the day, though I'll get asked and maybe I'll get told different. Maybe I might have to give it to someone else. I don't know. But it will get announced on the Twitter later on tonight or tomorrow, one of the two. But that is your race in TGP2 tonight. I hope you all enjoyed. I won't be here next week. I'm going to Portugal, but which is a shame because they're both mystery tracks, which last season was really entertaining to watch. But unfortunately, I won't be here. I'm hoping we shall get hopefully get a replacement. If not, it will be Jack's POV, I imagine. But we will stay up to date on the Twitter, so we'll get a post stating what, and yeah, we'll find out pretty much. So I thank you all for watching and joining me tonight. I hope next week's a good race, and then I will hopefully be back for Singapore and the US of A, and I believe that'll be Texas, I think. Yeah, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll have a stream for you next week. Have a good night, and